since I'm using this frame in the videos, this very long frame plus heel brake, it's kind of like the worst case scenario for doing crossovers. Hi fellow inline pilots, welcome back to the channel. It's been a long time, too long. I wish I could have made more videos, but I have been very busy with other things. But I did do a lot of skating last half year. Mostly on the street, a little bit less like skills and tricks, but more like trying to survive on the street. And therefore I got a new frame, which is like 110 times 4. And also the heel brake, because I find it's really useful. I really don't want to go without it in the city where there's traffic around me. I'm not going to swing around my legs or whatever, do some crazy braking. I just want to go safely as possible and brake as easily as possible. And a long frame is helpful for me. It was helpful because I was finding that the rough, like uneven surfaces would cause a lot of strain on my muscles and would make me less able to skate, and it would be also less enjoyable. So I wanted to have a little bit more ease on my skating, and I wanted to have a long frame. It gives me stability and I don't have to constantly adjust my muscles to keep my balance, and it was quite useful. But it was also quite boring because I found out it's really easy to skate on these long frames. I didn't expect it, but you don't have to have a lot of skating skills, I find, to just get a lot of speed and go quite stable. But it was a bit boring, so I put some like other wheels on the outside. These are like cheap wheels that I had lying around, and I ground them down to, instead of 110, they're now 108 millimeters to get a little bit of a rocker. Even though the frame is just a speed skating frame, there's no rocker in the frame. But I wanted to create a rocker because I'm really kind of addicted to the flowy, the feeling of flying on skating, which I only get when my skate is really agile. So yeah, I was missing it. So I put some black wheels there to rocker it. But still, the thing that has always been a bit of a weak thing for, I think every beginner skater, but especially for me, is the crossover, the outside edge pushing. And I could do it, but it was not like as stable as I wanted to be. And I came up with a couple of exercises that was kind of challenging me and getting my skills a bit higher. And since I thought it was useful for other people too, I wanted to make a video about it, and that's why I'm doing this. Since I'm using this frame in the videos, this very long frame plus heel brake, it's kind of like the worst case scenario for doing crossovers, because it's so long. You easily clip the heel brake with the wheel of the other skate. Yeah, so I thought if I could do crossovers on this frame, this setup with the heel brake, then any other frame would be easier, right? So it would be like, if I can do this, then I can do it on any setup. And also my other setup that I usually use, which is the 3x125, which is my favorite setup, the rockered one. So yeah, if this works, then that would definitely be okay. So the first exercise is an exercise that I've been already doing almost since the beginning of inline skating for me. Starting out with 1 foot roll that I've already made another video about a long time ago. After that I started doing slalom with 1 foot. And you can also do it without cones. It doesn't have to be cones. If you do it without cones, it's a lot easier because you don't have to like precisely navigate through the cones, but you can still practice going left and right, and that means that you're going from outside edge to inside edge to outside edge. So you're practicing both edges of your skate. The outside edge is kind of like, do I have my skate here? Yeah. So like the inside is where the other foot is on the other side. If you like standing straight, it's kind of center edge. You're supposed to be standing straight with the wheels pointing straight down. But if you normally push to accelerate, that's the inside edge. And if you do a crossover, you're going to push the other way around. So you're going to push on the outside edge. If you do slalom, you're going both edges from one side to the other side. So you can practice a lot the edge work with slalom. But then I also started challenging myself for the crossover by putting my free foot, like hooking it up behind the foot that was slaloming. And it was really challenging. As you can see, I on purpose I showed the videos where I started doing this, and as you can see, I was really unstable in the beginning. But the further I practiced, the more stable I became. I found out that the nice thing about this exercise, it's not easy. I mean, I don't recommend doing this if you don't feel very comfortable, on one leg already, because you can really easily fall down if you hook your foot behind the other one and you panic. Then you cannot get it back in time to keep yourself from falling. But the nice thing is that if I put my foot on the other one, then I kind of remove the freedom of movement a little bit of that skating foot, and that means that if I want to adjust my direction, I have to do it not from the foot, from the ankle, but more from the hip. So I'm really using my whole body to balance myself now, and I found it quite useful as an exercise. So it gave me more stability. But actually, the main reason was I just wanted to get used to having my feet crossed and being locked, and that, like, if suppose kind of my fear is like if I want to do a crossover, that my feet kind of get stuck behind each other and I panic. So if I am used to doing that, I feel a bit more comfortable, and I think that would help me a lot for. I mean, that's what my thinking was, that I would feel more comfortable and like be able to do crossovers more confidently. And yeah, I think that did contribute. In any case, 1 foot slalom is a really good exercise for overall skills, and yeah, I think it's the first thing to practice, to improve your crossovers as well. The second exercise, which I've also been doing for a while already, is doing only outside edge pushes, and this is what it looks like. So instead of doing like a crossover normally, where you then go back to either another crossover the same direction or do a normal push, what I do now is going from one underpush in one direction to the other push on the other direction, on the other foot, and that just boosts up my experience in doing crossovers, because I can quickly do a lot of crossovers, and also easily compare between my underpush on one foot and underpush on the other foot. And in the beginning, that really showed me that I was doing something wrong with one of my legs, and I wasn't sure what it was. It took me a while to figure it out. I was finding that the underpush was having a lot of strength when I was doing it on my right leg, and almost no strength when I was underpushing with my left leg. And eventually I found out it was because of lack of muscle strength, indirectly, because the problem was that I was not able to push because my leg was already stretched. I was already standing too straight on the leg to be able to do any push. I didn't go low enough. As Bill Stoppard says, stay low. So I didn't do that on one leg because my left leg was probably not so strong as my right leg, and therefore I didn't have enough spring left in my leg to actually push out. So for me, that was the problem. I found that out by doing these like comparisons between one side and the other side. What I'm also doing is called cross roll, and it looks a bit similar, but it feels really, really different, and it helped me a lot to get more control on my skates. But it's an exercise or a move coming from figure skating, So if you want to know how to do that, don't look at me, because I probably do it wrong. Look up some videos on YouTube about figure skating, doing cross rolls exercises. There are many videos available. You can find people who are really good at ice skating who can show how that works. And yeah, I find it really good exercise to get more control on my outside edge. You kind of swing your leg out, the one that you lift up, and then put it in front of you, and then immediately put it on the outside edge, and then go the other direction. So you're kind of doing half circles. I'm trying to do it, but it's not as much as probably it should. And that's really a strange feeling, but it's really nice if you can get it right. And I think it's really good to practice the outside edge skills as well. So I can recommend doing that if you can. Otherwise, just doing the underpush one after the other. It's also very helpful. Yeah. Now with the third exercise, it's getting a bit more complicated. It's now going to be specifically for practicing crossovers. What I did was like trying to roll, not just in a scissors position, but in a scissors position with my feet crossed, and then hold that for a while. So you kind of keep rolling with your feet crossed behind each other, and maybe it looks simple, but it's really difficult in the beginning, because similar with hooking my foot on the one foot slalom, hooking the other foot behind it, this is also putting yourself in a position where if you panic, you're immediately, your intuition says, oh, I need to put my legs next to each other again, but maybe you're stuck, and then in your panic you don't get your feet at the place where you want them to be, and then you fall down in a way, and that's quite awkward and can be dangerous. So yeah, I would practice this at slow speeds, at a very safe environment in the beginning, but it's something you can take easy. You don't have to go fast, it can go very slow. So you just take step by step, safe environment, and then when you feel confident, you can start maybe going a little bit faster, and doing a little bit like turning, not just going straight. And then you can kind of get used to feeling how your crossed foot needs to be rolling next to the other one, behind the other one, to still have control. And although by itself might not be very useful, but it really gave me a lot of, like, I got really used to having my legs crossed, and then I don't need to panic to get them back, because I know how to balance myself even with my legs crossed, because in the beginning you don't know how to balance yourself, but after a while then you can start to just balance yourself as if you're skating with your feet next to each other normally, and then you feel not panicked anymore if you lose balance, because you know how to adjust. So that's why I found this really useful to do a lot of practice. And yeah, that's one of the first things. After this, the other exercises are getting more difficult, but this one I think is still something beginners can try to do. And I think it really is going to help a lot with feeling more confident doing a crossover, and not having to panic like if you don't get your feet back straight again in time, that you lose balance, because you can stay crossed as long as you want after you practice this. So there's no reason to panic anymore, because you're comfortable in the crossover as well as normal skating. And the fourth exercise is kind of the same thing, but then more extreme. And it really gets really difficult if you don't have enough strength on the leg, and you don't feel very stable on one leg. So this is something that took me a couple of times to practice, because you're kind of dragging the foot that you're pushing out on the outside edge, kind of like you're doing a drag stop, but you're not actually doing any stopping, because your foot is rolling in the same direction, parallel as you're moving. But you have to kind of find the direction of where your foot is stable and doesn't put you out of balance, because you can fall down quite easily if you do this. But yeah, for me this was really something that helped me to get very, very comfortable with doing a good outside edge push. And yeah, I think this is one of the best exercises I found to get my outside edge push more pronounced, more like being able to do a really strong push very far. This is really the exercise that I prefer to do to practice that, and yeah, I think it helped a lot. But I don't think this is easy for beginners to do. But anyway, this is something I did, and maybe you can do it too. I don't know. Let me know if you tried it, and hopefully you didn't hurt yourself, because I don't want to be the one who started to cause you to fall down. Because yeah, please save, please. And for the fifth exercise, instead of going deeper, I'm actually now going in a turn. I'm trying to turn as sharp as I can, with my legs crossed in the cross position. And yeah, this is maybe a bit easier than the deep cross that I did before. But it's also a bit difficult, because you really need good control of your turn. You're doing a parallel turn, but then with your feet crossed. Yeah, and this is kind of a bit more progressing towards doing a crossover in a turn. So I think this is a natural progression, and it's a good exercise. But yeah, it's a lot more difficult, of course, than just going straight and putting your legs crossed. So I'm not sure how much this will be possible for a beginner to do, but if you can do it, this is, I think, the next step to do, to get more control on the crossover. And then this is really the natural situation where you're going to a turn and you do a crossover, but instead of pulling your underpushed leg back forwards over next to you, you're just leaving it there, and that's making it even more yeah, like practicing even more, that you just have your legs crossed and you don't feel unstable. You're feeling more and more comfortable being in a turn and doing a crossover, and not panicking about putting your feet back where you're used to it. You're kind of getting more and more comfortable with having your legs either crossed or not crossed, whatever, it doesn't matter anymore. I think this is the reason for me that it really helps me to be more confident in crossovers and more stable. And with the sixth exercise, I really wanted to challenge myself to never have to panic about getting my feet stuck behind each other. And that's where I combined the deep cross hold with getting my foot actually stuck against the other boot. I would just pull my underpushed foot back, but actually push it back hooked on the behind the other foot, and then going back to the underpush again. So instead of suppose I get out of balance because my feet hit each other, and yeah, it kind of puts me out of balance on the rolling foot. But then going back to that underpush, which is the free movement direction of my feet, instead of trying to uncross my feet, which is the more difficult move because I have to put my skates behind each other, and then I get stuck. But if I go back to the underpush side and I can still keep my balance and just use my underpushing foot again as a second foot, to both combine 2 feet to have more balance, have more stability, then then I don't need to uncross my feet. I can even correct an imbalance by keeping crossed, or even going back to the more wide underpush. I thought maybe that would even be more stable, give me even more ways to stabilize myself when I get out of balance. So yeah, I think it was a nice exercise. I don't know if it really helps a lot, but I mean, it's just another thing you can try if you really think that you still feel scared, but you're getting more skilled and you don't feel like this is going to be dangerous. Then yeah, maybe this is another way to improve your stability and confidence in the crossover. So once I did all these exercises, I felt more comfortable in the crossover, and I went back to my usual setup, which I prefer, as I showed before, the 125/3 rockered setup, which is as short a wheelbase as is possible with 125 wheels, although with the heel brake. but because it's so much, in comparison, it's a lot shorter than the 4x125, 4x110. That let's see if I can climb them up a little bit, like there. Maybe you can see the difference. It's like 8 centimeters or more. So going back from that long frame, and I was able to do crossovers to the 125x3 with the heel brake, it felt like I was going back to a skate without a heel brake. It was like kind of relative. But then I started doing crossovers at high speed, which before I found a bit iffy, like a bit unstable, with the 125x3 rocket wheels, because it's so maneuverable that I didn't feel any support in the underpush, and on the high speed it gets a bit wobbly. But now, after I was much more comfortable with the crossover, I was able to do a high speed long term, like crossovers behind each other without any interruption. So it really helped me a lot to get more stable. I really want to do. I want to still get more, get the level a bit higher, and feel even more comfortable. So I can also do it on uneven surfaces and everything more comfortably at high speed. I can already do it at low speed, but at high speed things become a little bit more difficult with the rocket wheels. But now it's getting a lot better, at least. So yeah, that's good. I hope it also helps other people doing these exercises. As I said, be careful. They're not easy. Having your legs crossed can cause you trouble if you panic and you get your feet stuck and you don't know how to catch yourself. So wear protection, wear a helmet, knee pads, everything, crash pants, but also take it step by step. Don't push yourself further than you think you feel comfortable with. And then I'm sure you can also get your crossover stable and don't feel panicked anymore to get your feet back. Just a natural part of skating. Eventually, that's what it should be. It's a really important skill to have if you want to get a bit more like free skating, not just doing figure skating, but also doing a bit more like going through the corner and enjoying skating. That's what I like about skating, not just moving around outside. I really like the feeling that you're flying around. That's why I also chose the name Inline Pilot. It's kind of like I'm flying over the asphalt. It's really nice. I like that. So yeah, I hope it helps. If you liked the video, you found it useful, make sure to hit the thumbs up button and subscribe if you haven't already. I'm really happy I'm getting so many subscribers. We're already almost at 800, I think. It's amazing for a channel that had only a couple of videos. So thanks for all the support, and I'm really happy that a lot of people enjoy the videos. Apparently, gives me a lot of motivation to do it, even though I don't have a lot of time. So yeah, that's it for now, and I hope to see you in the next video. And take care. Bye.